Alrighty, so today on Fly Tying, this episode of High Desert Flies, we are going to be tying a simple woolly bugger. So in the vise today, I think I have a size 8. It's just a wetter nymph hook. It's a Daiichi, so pretty good. We're gonna get that. I already have in the vise the hook rigged up with the lead wire and the bead head. So I'm using an orange bead. You can use whatever works for you. If you just want simple, just use a regular bead head that's brass, but I like the orange for this one. And then in the bobbin we've got some 140 thread, using a little bit thicker just so we don't break any thread, and it secures it really good. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I already got my lead wire, so get your thread and just start right behind those lead wire wraps and just go into the lead wire. Secure that all down, and then you're just gonna go back into your hook end, and you want to go a little bit past the barb on this one, or maybe right at the barb. Snip off your thread, your excess thread. Now I'm going to be using some marabou in brown, I believe. Yeah, brown. So pretty much just that right there. So you just want to peel off a good little strand of it, and you want to get one that's really wispy. I like the wispy ones better than the stiff fibers, but it's your own personal preference. So now that we got our fibers, you're going to go and measure to tie it in. So you want the tail to be a little bit longer, or as long as the hook shank itself. Now you're just going to kind of pinch that, hold it down, and make a good couple of wraps on top of it, and then you can kind of release it. I also like to hold this hand, or even just pinch it going down, pull, pinch, pull. Just complete that, or repeat that process until you're all the way up to your lead wraps, and that just gives the fly girth as well. And then you can go in there with your scissors and snip off the excess. So that's pretty much what your fly is looking at like right now. So now you just want to make sure, go over all that marabou that you tied on, make it all uniform, make sure nothing's going to slip. This part I'm adding some crystal flash, this right here. So pretty much what you're going to do is tie it on each side, and this is just to give it a little bit more flash. So what I do is boom, like that, make sure it's nice and straight. You can make it longer or shorter to the marabou, or even parallel with that. So I always tie it on this side, and then just bring that same fiber back, kind of go over the hook, and then just reverse, or do that same process on the other side, and then just cut it off. And that's simple. And there's your tail. So now we're going to move on to the fun part of the hackle, the chenille, all of that. So there's a couple of different ways that you can tie them. You can use wire back here, and you can use that to secure your hackle wraps, or you could just tie on your hackle and just make sure everything's tied up there. That's the way I'm going to do it. I might make another video on how to do it the other way. And then, so you're just going to get your chenille. This is the color of chenille I'm using. You just want to cut about a fold of like the chenille, like on the card, how you unwrap it. You just want to get maybe 1 or 2 lengths of that. And I strip off the fibers just to where it's straight, the straight thread where they tie it onto. Makes it easier to tie in. So pretty much you're just going to do that. Make sure it's nice and secured. And pretty much that simple. So make sure it's good butted up against your marabou feathers, or your tail. And just kind of get that out of the way. Now I'm going to tie on the feathers. There's a lot of different companies with different feathers. I usually use Whitings, but for this one I'm using Ewing. That's just off of, I got this one I believe from Cabela or Sportsman's. So you just want to pick a fiber that's going to look good. It's not going to be too big and not too small. That looks pretty good right there. That's just kind of how I gauge it. You can gauge it with a hackle gauge if you have one, and see what size it is. But I just like to, because everyone's hackle preference is different, I like mine a little bit medium, so if that even makes sense. But like I said, it's a learning process and you figure it out as you go. So pretty much I just snipped off these feathers. I just kind of coaxed them back, got my scissors and made kind of a tail, a good tie-in point, and you're just going to tie that in right where you tied in that marabou, and just make sure that's all secured down. And then you want to advance your thread all the way up. You kind of make some wraps around your lead just to get everything even. And this is pretty much where we're at right now. So now you're going to start off with your chenille, okay? You're just going to go and just do wraps like this all the way around, touching wraps all the way up the hook point, all the way. And you can do however many. I'll stop right there. And you tie it down. This is also why I like 140 thread, is because it can handle the chenille and doubling it over and everything like that. So snip off your chenille and then kind of make like a little thread bank right there just to make sure everything is tight and secured. Now you're just going to get your hackle, do the same thing you did with the chenille, and just wrap it back just like that. You could do open wraps. I like to do a little bit bigger for mine because me personally, I don't really like to have my woolly buggers with a lot of hackle. I don't know, just in my eyes I'm like, it's not a dry fly, but I know that isn't really what it is, so you can do whatever the heck you want. Now just make sure everything is good. I pretty much coaxed all these back. That's an easier way to tie in your feathers. Coaxed them back, pulled that, tied it down and secured it, and now that's your pretty much finished product. Make a little bit of a thread bank right there just to make sure everything is tight and secured. Hit it with some of the UV Loon and get a good whip finish on that. I like to do 2 or 3, most of the time 2 whip finishes on the flies that I tie, just to make sure that they're nice and secured, because sometimes you can do a whip finish and it's not the best and it'll come undone even before you fish the fly. So I always like to make sure that I get 2 or 3 in there at least for the smaller flies, and then my bigger musky flies and stuff like that that I tie, I do a lot more. And that's pretty much it. Go in there, snip your thread, hit it with the UV light, and that's pretty much your finished fly. You can tie it in so many different colors and variations, different hackle, different everything, but that's how I tie mine, and they work really well for me. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it to someone who likes fishing. Thank you.